What happens when an unstoppable force collides with an immovable object? What happens when youth, hunger, and raw ambition stand face to face with experience, dominance, and absolute championship pedigree? Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling fans around the world, we are about to dive deep into one of the most electrifying, spine-tingling confrontations that has sent shockwaves through the entire wrestling landscape. This isn't just another backstage segment. This isn't just another promo. This is the moment when Obafimi, the North Star, the destructive force that has been tearing through everything in his path, looked directly into the eyes of Gunther, the ring general, the Imperium leader, the man who redefined what it means to be a champion, and made it crystal clear that he wants what Gunther has. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a knife. The atmosphere was so charged that every single person watching knew they were witnessing something special, something historic, something that could define the next era of professional wrestling. Let me take you back to where this all began, because to truly understand the magnitude of this confrontation, you need to understand the journey of both men. You need to feel the weight of what brought them to this moment. Obafimi didn't just appear out of nowhere. This man has been on a warpath, a campaign of absolute destruction that has left bodies in his wake and championships around his waist. Standing at 6 feet 4 inches and weighing 265 pounds of pure, chiseled muscle and athleticism, Obafimi represents the future, the next generation of physical specimens who combine old-school power with new-school explosiveness. Watch him move in that ring and you'll see something terrifying. He doesn't just perform wrestling moves, he executes them with a violence and precision that makes grown men think twice about stepping through those ropes with him. The power bombs that shake the entire ring. The spears that look like they could put someone through a concrete wall. The presence that makes the crowd erupt every single time his music hits. But here's what makes Obafimi truly dangerous, what separates him from every other powerhouse who's come before. It's not just the physical gifts, though those are undeniable. It's the mindset. It's the belief that he is destined for greatness, that championships aren't just goals but birthrights. Listen to him speak and you hear a man who doesn't hope to be champion, he expects it. He demands it. And he's willing to go through anyone, and I mean anyone, to claim what he believes is his. Week after week, we've watched him dismantle opponents. We've seen the look in his eyes as he stands over fallen adversaries, that cold, calculating stare that says one thing loud and clear: I'm just getting started. The North Star has been rising, climbing higher and higher, and everyone in the wrestling world has been asking the same question. Who can stop this man? Who has the capability, the championship mentality, the sheer willpower to stand in front of this freight train and not just survive, but actually turn him back? And that brings us to Gunther. Oh man, where do we even begin with the ring general? If Obafimi represents the hungry future, Gunther represents the dominant present, the standard bearer, the man who has proven beyond any shadow of doubt that he is on another level entirely. 600 plus days as champion. Let that sink in for a moment. Over 600 days of defending the championship against every challenger, every pretender, every supposed threat that stepped up thinking they could dethrone the ring general. And what happened to every single one of them? They fell. They crumbled. They learned the painful lesson that being in the ring with Gunther isn't just a wrestling match, it's a war of attrition, a test of your will, your pain tolerance, your ability to withstand punishment that would break lesser men. Those brutal chops that echo through arenas and leave chest cavities looking like raw meat. Those calculated strikes that target specific body parts with surgical precision. The methodical, grinding, suffocating style that makes you feel every single second of your time in that ring with him. Gunther doesn't just beat you, he breaks you down psychologically. He makes you question whether you belong in the same ring with him. He makes you doubt everything you thought you knew about your own toughness, your own championship caliber. Watch his matches and you see a master craftsman at work, someone who understands wrestling at a level that most people never reach. Every move has purpose. Every strike has intention. There's no wasted motion, no unnecessary flash. Just cold, calculated dominance designed to prove one simple truth: he is the general, and you are just another soldier who thought they could stage a coup. An Imperium stands behind him, Ludwig Kaiser and Giovanni Vinci when he's around, representing that European wrestling excellence, that mentality that championships are earned through discipline, through technique, through superiority in every aspect of the game. So imagine the electricity in the air when these two forces finally came face to face. The build-up had been simmering for weeks. Obafimi had been making statements, putting the entire roster on notice that he was coming for the top. And Gunther, ever the composed champion, had been watching, observing, measuring this young lion who dared to roar about taking his throne. The tension built and built until finally, that moment arrived. Obafimi's music hit, and the crowd exploded because they knew what was coming. They felt it in their bones. History was about to be made right in front of their eyes. Picture the scene. Gunther standing in the ring, championship gold gleaming under those bright lights, the ring general's expression as cold and unreadable as ever. The confidence radiating from him wasn't arrogance, it was the certainty that comes from proving yourself over and over again at the highest level. Imperium flanking him, creating this wall of European dominance that had crushed so many dreams, ended so many championship aspirations. And then, the arena darkens just slightly, the anticipation becomes almost unbearable, and Obafimi makes his entrance. The North Star walks down that ramp with purpose, with the kind of focused intensity that makes you realize this isn't about building his brand or getting some mic time. This is about destiny. This is about a young warrior ready to claim his kingdom. The crowd is on their feet, the noise is deafening, and Obafimi steps through those ropes, enters Gunther's domain, and the two men stand there, maybe 10 feet apart, just staring at each other. No words yet, just pure, unfiltered intensity. You could feel the weight of that moment through the screen. The camera cutting back and forth between their faces, capturing every micro-expression, every slight movement. Gunther's jaw clenched, his eyes narrowed, sizing up this challenger like a general surveying an opponent's army. Obafimi's chest rising and falling with controlled breathing, his fists clenching and unclenching, the physical power barely contained beneath the surface. The silence before the storm. The calm before the absolute chaos that everyone knew was inevitable. And then Obafimi spoke, and his words cut through that arena like a blade. He didn't come out there to kiss the ring or pay respect to the champion's accomplishments. No, he came out there to speak truth, to declare his intentions without apology or hesitation. He looked Gunther dead in the eyes and told him that the reign, as impressive as it's been, as dominant as it's been, was living on borrowed time. He told Gunther that every empire eventually falls, every king eventually gets dethroned, and that he, Obafimi, the North Star, was the one who would bring the ring general's era to a crashing end. The audacity of it was breathtaking. Here was a man, still relatively early in his journey compared to Gunther's established dominance, stepping up and not just requesting a title shot but demanding it, promising it, guaranteeing that when they finally met in battle, the outcome would be different from anything Gunther had experienced before. The crowd reaction was split but overwhelmingly electric. Some fans who had witnessed Gunther's reign of terror couldn't believe what they were hearing, couldn't fathom anyone truly believing they could do what so many others had failed to do. But others, those who had watched Obafimi's meteoric rise, those who had seen the destruction he'd caused, they were ready. They were hungry for this clash of titans. They wanted to see if the hype was real, if this young powerhouse truly had what it takes to stand with the absolute best. And Gunther, man, the ring general's response was everything you'd expect from a champion of his caliber. He didn't yell. He didn't lose his composure. He simply smiled, this cold, knowing smile that has preceded the downfall of so many challengers before. Gunther picked up the microphone with deliberate slowness, and when he spoke, his voice carried that thick Austrian accent that has become synonymous with championship dominance. He acknowledged Obafimi's power, his potential, his impressive run through the competition. But then, and this is where Gunther's psychological warfare truly shines, he explained the difference between being impressive and being ready. He broke down, in methodical detail, how many men had stood exactly where Obafimi was standing, full of confidence, full of belief, full of promises about ending his reign, and he described what happened to each and every one of them. He painted vivid pictures of broken spirits, shattered dreams, careers derailed by the reality that facing the ring general isn't like facing anyone else. He told Obafimi that the championship around his waist, this gold that represented over 600 days of proven excellence, wasn't something you just take through willpower and physical gifts. It's something you earn by surviving the war, by proving you can withstand everything he brings, every chop, every suplex, every minute of grinding, punishing, championship-level wrestling. But here's where it got really interesting, where the confrontation elevated from great to unforgettable. Obafimi didn't back down. Lesser men, when faced with Gunther's cold logic and proven track record, start to show cracks, start to show doubt. Not the North Star. Instead, he stepped closer, closing the distance between them until they were almost nose to nose, and he said something that sent chills down everyone's spine. He told Gunther that every single person the ring general had mentioned, every challenger who had fallen, had one thing in common. None of them were Obafimi. None of them carried the combination of youth, power, hunger, and championship destiny that he brings to the table. He acknowledged Gunther's greatness, but he made it clear that greatness doesn't intimidate him, it motivates him. It drives him. Because when you're destined to be the best, you don't fear the current best, you embraced the opportunity to prove you've surpassed them. The tension at this point was absolutely nuclear. Imperium looked ready to attack, ready to put this young upstart in his place for daring to speak to their general with such disrespect. The referee positioned himself strategically, knowing that one wrong move could turn this verbal confrontation into an all-out brawl. And Gunther, for the first time, you could see something flicker across his face. Not fear, no, the ring general doesn't do fear. But recognition. Respect, maybe. Or perhaps the realization that this challenger, this Obafimi, might actually be different from all the others. Might actually possess something special that could make their eventual match something truly legendary. And then came the challenge. Official, direct, undeniable. Obafimi extended his hand, not for a handshake but pointing directly at the championship gold, and he challenged Gunther to put that title on the line against him. He told the ring general to name the time, name the place, and he would be there to take what he believes is rightfully his. The crowd erupted, because this was what they'd been waiting for. This was the matchup everyone wanted to see. Power versus power. Dominance versus dominance. The established king versus the hungry prince ready to take the throne. The future of wrestling could be defined by this one match, and everyone in that arena, everyone watching around the world, knew it. Gunther's response was measured, calculated, exactly what you'd expect from a champion who has defended his title successfully so many times. He didn't give Obafimi the satisfaction of an immediate yes. Instead, he made it clear that title opportunities aren't handed out just because someone shows up and talks a good game. They're earned. They're proven through competition, through victories that matter, through demonstrating beyond doubt that you deserve to stand across the ring from the champion. But, and this is crucial, he also didn't say no. He left the door open, because Gunther isn't afraid of anyone. The ring general has proven time and time again that he welcomes all challengers, embraces the opportunity to prove his superiority against anyone who thinks they can take his championship. What happened next took the entire situation to another level entirely. Obafimi, clearly not satisfied with political answers or champion double talk, decided to force the issue. He grabbed Gunther by the arm, spinning him around, getting right in his face, and told him that if he wanted proof, if he needed more evidence that Obafimi was ready, they could settle it right then and there. No championship on the line, no contract signing, just two of the most dominant forces in wrestling going to war to see who was truly superior. The challenge was laid out, raw and direct, and the crowd lost their minds. This was real. This was happening. The verbal confrontation was about to become physical, and everyone was ready to witness it. Imperium immediately moved to intervene, because how dare this newcomer put hands on the ring general, how dare he demand immediate action instead of following protocol. Ludwig Kaiser got in Obafimi's face, talking trash, trying to protect his leader and establish dominance. But here's where Obafimi's fearlessness truly showed itself. He didn't back down from Imperium either. He stood his ground, making it clear that he didn't care if it was Gunther alone or Gunther and his entire stable, the outcome would be the same. The North Star was ready for war, and nothing, absolutely nothing, was going to stop him from getting what he wanted. Security hit the ring, referees flooded in, trying to create space and prevent this from escalating into a full brawl before any official match could be sanctioned. But even as they were separated, even as officials formed a human barrier between these two titans, the intensity never diminished. Gunther and Obafimi stared each other down over the heads of everyone trying to keep them apart, and you could see it in both their eyes. This wasn't over. This wasn't even close to over. This was just the beginning of something massive, something that would define careers and create moments that fans would remember for decades. As officials finally managed to create enough distance, as Obafimi was being pushed back toward the ropes and Gunther stood in the center of the ring with Imperium regrouping around him, the North Star did something that sent one final message. He pointed at Gunther, then pointed at the championship, then drew his finger across his own waist, signaling exactly what was coming. That gold was coming home to Obafimi, and whether Gunther accepted the challenge immediately or made him wait, made him earn it through more competition, the result would be the same. Destiny would not be denied. The future would not be held back by the present, no matter how dominant that present had been. The implications of this confrontation are absolutely staggering when you really think about them. On one hand, you have Gunther, a champion who has literally redefined what it means to hold a championship in the modern era. His reign hasn't just been long, it's been dominant in a way we rarely see. He hasn't just beaten challengers, he's made them look like they didn't belong in the same ring with him. The quality of competition he's faced and defeated is mind-blowing. Top-tier athletes, former champions, people who were supposed to be the one to finally end his reign, all fell before the ring general's systematic destruction. His style is so effective because it's so complete. He can outwrestle you technically, he can hurt you with strikes, he can overpower you when needed, and he can outlast you mentally and physically. There are no holes in his game, no weaknesses to exploit, no easy path to victory. Facing Gunther is like facing a final boss who has studied every possible strategy you could use and has a counter for all of them. But on the other hand, you have Obafimi, and this is where it gets truly fascinating. Because while Gunther represents perfected dominance, Obafimi represents unlimited potential. He's still learning, still growing, still adding new dimensions to his game, and he's already this good, already this imposing, already this successful. Imagine what happens when he reaches his absolute peak, when experience combines with those physical gifts to create something truly unstoppable. And here's the thing that makes this matchup so compelling beyond just the physical aspect. Obafimi isn't intimidated by Gunther's aura, by the championship pedigree, by the long list of defeated challengers. If anything, he's inspired by it, motivated by it, driven to prove that he's the exception, he's the one who will do what everyone else couldn't. The wrestling community has absolutely exploded in the aftermath of this confrontation. Social media went nuclear with fans debating who would win when these two finally meet. Some argue that Gunther's experience and championship mentality make him the clear favorite, that Obafimi's confidence is admirable but ultimately misguided because he hasn't been tested at the championship level the way Gunther has tested and defeated so many others. They point to the ring general's tactical brilliance, his ability to adjust mid-match, to find and exploit any weakness no matter how small. They argue that Obafimi's power game, while impressive, won't be enough against someone who has faced and defeated powerful opponents throughout his entire reign. But the other side, those backing Obafimi, they make compelling arguments too. They point to his undefeated streak, to the fact that he's been destroying competition with the kind of ease that suggests he's on a different level. They argue that Gunther has never faced someone with Obafimi's specific combination of attributes, someone who's not just strong but athletic, not just powerful but technically sound, not just confident but genuinely destined for greatness. They believe that the North Star represents evolution, the next generation surpassing the current one, and that when the match happens, we'll witness a changing of the guard, a passing of the torch, a new era being born. And here's what makes this whole situation even more intriguing. The psychological warfare has only just begun. Gunther is a master at getting in opponents' heads, making them doubt themselves, making them overthink and overcompensate in ways that play right into his hands. But Obafimi seems immune to those tactics.